Hello, I'm Andrew Brown with the Nelson and District Seniors Coordinating Society. We're so grateful to retired nurses who founded and run the Elder Abuse Prevention Program. There are far too many instances of mistreatment of older people, and these ladies will provide us with some valuable information on the topic.
So what is elder abuse or neglect? It's the misuse of trust or power over an individual. So this can be a family member, or it can be someone you come to trust, or even a stranger. Now the types of abuse that we see are emotional or psychological, physical or sexual, and financial, including fraud. And that's the most common. So 1 in 12 seniors experience financial abuse. So the types of neglect are either caregiver neglect, which could be a family member or a caregiver, or it could be self-neglect.
So caregiver neglect may show up as someone that's not providing their loved one with adequate nutrition, bathing, refusing to allow neighbors in for visits, friends. Self-neglect is sort of the individual that you see that might be hoarding or refusing to come out of their home, not bathing, not eating properly for whatever reasons.
About 1 in 12 older adults experience abuse, and 2/3 of older adults that are abused are women, so of the older adults. So there were 4 of us, retired nurses. We saw a need for community support in this area. So in 2008, we founded this association, which is the Nelson Area Elder Abuse Prevention Program. We created the manual publication in 2009 and distributed 80 copies of it. So now it's online, and we've also have a resource center.
So the Nelson Elder Abuse Prevention Program has several prongs. The Resource Center is probably our primary prong. We are here every Wednesday from 12 to 2, but Laura, the front office person, takes appointments for us and can be reached at the phone number 352-6008. Here at the Resource Center, we try to assist people who are concerned about an abuse situation or have questions whether this is truly an abuse situation or neglect or self-neglect. We help to sort that out with them, and then we do not intervene, but we do assist and support them to find other resources. There are a number of legal channels, community channels that are legally obliged to assist a person who has a concern about abuse or neglect. So that's the primary thing we do, is most of our interactions with the public are in regards to specific situations. We also have conducted a number of community outreach programs where we talked initially about abuse and what that looked like. Then we progressed to what individuals can do as they age to help prevent themselves from being more susceptible to abuse. And out of that program grew the Personal Advanced Planning Program, which now the Seniors Coordinating Center has taken on, and it does assist people particularly in completing the Health Care Representation Agreement. Representation Agreements 9 and 7, which allow you as an individual to dictate what you want to happen to your health, for your health care, should you become unable to express that. Our last area is advocating for seniors against systemic abuse. And this is a little harder to define, but it's when things are going wrong within a care facility, within a senior's housing situation, where seniors are feeling powerless, because remember, as Christy spoke of, it's a misuse of that sense of power and authority over an older person. And so we have had probably a half a dozen situations that we've supported individuals in trying to restore a better balance of that power for someone that's been in a systemic abusive situation.
So we've been working with and developing networks about abuse prevention within the service and the professional community. So community resource networks, advocacy, city police, RCMP, banks, financial advisors. We've had providers of care meetings where all the financial institutions got together with the representation agreement people and making sure that we're protecting people's finances. We've had a hoarding and harm reduction workshop, which was good. We always do what's called World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, which is June 15th, and we join with the CRN, which is Community Response Network, for that. Basically, we've done a lot of education. The education helps us with prevention of abuse. Then we look at early intervention, and as Gail said, early intervention is really important for making sure that the abuse doesn't get worse and is more difficult to deal with. And we've looked at the whole community response awareness and responsiveness situation. We also have an online manual which we're trying to do paper-free. So anyone can go online, and the first 20 pages of the manual have a really good descriptor of what is abuse, and you can look at it and figure out what's going on and if someone could help you with it. And in the following chapters, there's who can help you. So the chapters are divided into education, prevention, early intervention, and the whole manual and our program is for community awareness and for responsiveness to situations that we're in.
The earlier there's an intervention, the less likely the abuse is to become more severe. People generally want to help someone. They're not intentionally harming someone. Often they don't even realize that what they're doing is a form of abuse, and that there are supports out there for the abuser as well as for the person being abused.
Hey, check out our program with Marge Hare at the Nelson and District Community Complex with great dance tunes and a great fitness session.
Well, just remember, this class is about having fun, and just do what you can do. If you get tired, keep your legs moving. Don't sit in the windowsill, just keep the legs moving. And if you feel like singing, sing along, and we'll have some fun. We're going to start by painting the walls. And let's take it up, take it right down to the floor. And then we're going to take it to a march.
Exercise is magic. It helps to keep us young. Physically, there's so many things that exercise does for us. It keeps our bones strong, so preventing fractures if we fall. But even before that, it gives us better balance. We're more agile, less likely to fall because we're stronger, and as well, it improves our coordination. The whole body just works better. When we stretch, we also increase the mobility of our joints. And yeah, that's physically. Mentally, exercise releases endorphins, which makes us happy. I've had a participant tell me when they came to class, they were not in a good mood. And when they left, they're always happy. They just feel so much better. Helps to improve self-esteem, because sometimes, you know, maybe some of us live alone, and everybody does. Not just seniors, everybody gets down on themselves, but it does help to improve self-esteem and makes you feel better about yourself. We have a lot of fun. This is not a serious class. Part of what I say at the beginning of the class is, let's have some fun. Because if we're not having fun, we don't want to be here. It can't be work. Sometimes we sing, because we all know the music. It's music from the 60s and 70s, and so we just have fun. The first part of the class, we do a warm-up, and then we get into our cardio, and then we do a cool down. That takes about half an hour, and then we do strength training. And it could be with weights, it could be with those balls, it could be with body weight or rubber bands. It all depends. I just change it up every week. There are people who weren't very physically active when they came to this class, but they keep coming back. And that's what I try to explain to people. You might not get it today, you might not be able to keep up today, but in 3 weeks, absolutely you will. Just to let you know, we have other classes for seniors. We have a chair yoga class, and we have a class called Balance and Mobility, as well as there's quite a few classes down in the pool. And so if you'd like more information on that, you can look it up online and or call your local community complex.
So hello, my name is Suzanne, and this is Patricia and Betsy, and we are 3 members of the Nelson Threshold Singers. The Nelson Threshold Singers is a chapter of the Threshold Choir, which is an international network of choirs, and we sing for people at the thresholds of life. Essentially, we sing for people who are palliative and who are dying. This choir was started by a woman named Kate Munger, who was sitting with a friend of hers who had AIDS, and she was there with him, and he was restless, and that made her nervous because that was new territory for her. And so she did what made her feel comfortable, and she decided to start to sing. And as she sang, she relaxed, and he relaxed, and it turned into a very good experience. So after a lot of reflection, a few years later, she decided that this was something that she really wanted to do and bring to the world. And so she founded the Threshold Choir in the year 2000 in California. There are chapters now all over the English-speaking world, and we're starting to get into the other parts of the world. We have chapters in that aren't in the English-speaking world in Mexico and Amsterdam, and we're all over Australia, New Zealand, North America. The music that we sing is very quiet, lullaby-like, soothing songs. We are not denominational. We have no religious affiliation. So the songs that we sing are about heart and life and love and grace and those kinds of things. So we are in touch with hospice, and we're in touch with the long-term care facilities in our town. And it's also word of mouth, so people that know people, we're getting older. Most of the choir members are getting older, so we all know people that are coming into that time in their lives where they need this kind of support. There are about 15 people in the choir at this moment, and when we're invited, we go in very small teams of 2 or 3 to the bedside and sing with only a very small number of people. Thresholdchoir.org is the international organization's website, and you could reach us by email, and it's nelson@thresholdchoir.org.
Easy, rest easy, let every trouble drift away. Easy, rest easy.
Hi, it's Laura at the Nelson and District Seniors Coordinating Society. For this segment of Scratch the Surface, we are with Anne Harvey.
Hello.
Welcome, and thank you very much for coming, and we're hoping to get to know you and a little bit of your interest, a little bit of your history. So how long have you lived in the area?
I've lived in the area since 1994, but I've been kind of visiting the area and involved with it since probably the early 70s.
Okay, and where did you come from when you moved?
Came from Edmonton.
Okay, so not too far away. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
A lot of people these days are talking about getting their DNA tested or finding out about their ancestry. Do you know anything about your ancestry?
I've done a bit of digging.
Okay.
And so my mother's side, my mother was born in Moose Jaw. My father was born in Lachine, Quebec, but grew up in the Maritimes in New Brunswick.
Yep.
But my mother's side goes back to the Cornwall area of England and the London area, depending on which grandparent. And my father's side goes back through the States to Worcester, England, when the Civil War was happening in England in the 1600s.
Oh, wow.
And the Church of England kind of lost its hold on religion there. And so there were a lot of Protestant groups that were starting up. And if my research is correct, it's when the Quakers were forming.
Really?
And so on my father's side, it was part of a wave of immigration to the States with the Quaker movement.
Okay. Wow, that's quite a ways back that you've gone. So part of this Scratch the Surface segment is to discover 3 songs that you might like. So what's your first choice?
So my first choice is a song by Jane Siberry.
Siberry, okay.
She's a Canadian artist, singer-songwriter, and it's performed by her. I think Katie Lang does it on one of her albums, the 49th Parallel album too, and it's called The Valley.
The Valley.
So I like songs that move me, and that could be moving me emotionally or moving my feet.
Excellent.
So.
Oh, good. Next is, what jobs did you do? I mean, what was your first job? Let's go with that.
My first job was a letter carrier.
Okay.
During the Christmas rush. I was probably 18 maybe.
Okay.
And then just a variety of different jobs. I worked as a train oiler for a while in the train yards in Edmonton. I worked as a researcher from everything from women in the Alberta workforce. I started getting more into kind of publication interests. So I worked as a co-editor of a women's newsletter in Alberta, as an editor of a kids magazine for a while. Then it mostly became kind of my voluntary work in terms of community newspapers.
Right.
And then I got into housing. And part of that was a story through working with others in my own community in Edmonton to help form a housing co-op.
Right.
And then worked on, over a period of a number of years from 83 to 94, developed a bunch of affordable housing projects for people.
Wow.
So, and then that kind of carried with me when I moved here to work on
that you've been doing here.
Yeah.
So talking about community, it says the next question is, how has your sense of meaning and belonging in the community changed with aging?
It has changed. It's kind of changed depending on what was happening in my life and how engaged I was with the community. And when I'm really engaged, I feel so much a part of it. But I find my job's pretty demanding right now.
Okay.
I work with the Nelson Committee on Homelessness. And the difference in my life is that I have, family now. And so that takes some time as well.
Okay.
So I find I'm not engaged in as many community-based things on a volunteer basis as I used to be. But I still try and support what I can. And I'm looking forward to retiring this fall.
This fall? Oh, good for you.
And I hit 65 and
that's great. Oh, that's
I'm looking forward to it.
What did you do for fun and socializing in your youth?
Boy, I love dancing and house parties. I loved cross-country skiing and bicycling and swimming. But I found some of the most rewarding things was to work together with people to achieve something.
Okay.
And I don't think there's anything better, no matter whether that's trying to, bring songs together to do a choral or, arrangement and sing with the choir, or whether it is working on a community newspaper, all of these things which I used to do, to help raise community issues with the community I live in, but it's always great fun working with people to achieve things.
Oh, yeah.
So.
You mentioned moving your feet and dancing is one of your things that you like. What's another song that you would choose?
And it's good timing. So there was a group, some of the things I used to work on was kind of Central American solidarity and South African solidarity at the time when Nelson Mandela was in jail and things like that. And so became familiar with some of the South African music. And there's a band called Jaluka.
Jaluka, okay.
And one of the songs that they have is called Work for All.
Work for All, okay. And that makes you move your feet?
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. What advice would you give to today's youth?
I would say keep trying different experiences until you find something that works for you and that you're passionate about. Okay. And try and balance out education with experience. Okay. Both are very valuable.
And so what's your final and third choice for your song?
Well, I couldn't really decide. I'm going to swerve off the path and say, to be honest, I have a whole other aspect of my joys in music, and that is classical music.
Okay.
And I would say the fourth movement of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony.
Okay.
The aria part where the soprano comes in and it's joined by the tenor, and then it just builds to this crescendo. And that's one of my favorite pieces of music.
Well, thank you very much, Anne, for coming in and sharing some of your interests and your background, and we really appreciate all the work that you do in the community too with the homelessness.
Okay,
thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Pleasure to meet you.